before you look at anything. It's like, what is your company about? What are you about as a person? Now, we know investors are attracted to strong figureheads or strong organizations which have a good story. And everyone has a good story somewhere. There's like a very particular audience for you, and you will know your audience better than anyone.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Tenjin ROI 101, and today we'll talk about PR for mobile games. I have a special guest, the man with the best background in the business, Rana from Raptor PR. Hi Rana.
Hey Robin, how's it going?
All good, all good. Yeah, if you haven't seen Rana, this is his typical background. It's not it's not artificial, it's a real thing. Yeah.
It's a labor of love.
Yeah, real geek. And works in PR, so this is why I thought that'd be a very untypical topic for us to see how indies can benefit from PR. And we work together with Rana, and I know from my own experience he knows a lot. So he prepared for us a short deck about the PR for indies. Rana, feel free to start sharing the screen, tell us more about yourself, about the company.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Robin, thank you so much. It's awesome to be finally doing this with you. And okay, so I'm Rana, founder and CEO of Raptor PR. I've been in communications for 25 years. Let me share my screen. Raptor is, you know, it's the world's only pure B2B tech agency engineered for the global games industry. And we work a lot in mobile. So I mentioned that positioning line because that's kind of our positioning one-liner, which is easily understandable. So this links to messaging, which we'll chat later. No, Robin for a while. You know, this is all part. Yeah.
Look, Rana, can you click on the slideshow so it's?
Oh yes.
Take
Yes.
the whole screen. Yeah.
Is that better?
Yes, I just want to see myself.
Yeah. This is at a time in 2022, and I actually wasn't comfortable at games industry conferences, and we were just chatting away, bitching about it. But you know, we've grown over the last 3 years. But that was one of the. I think it's the only time I met you, Roman, in real life. That was fun. So what do we do? So we work with a whole bunch of companies in the games industry, but quite a mobile focus. We work with Tenjin, we work with publishers like Sunsoft, tech companies like Aptoid, with alternative mobile app stores. So we live and breathe in the tech world behind the business and marketing of video games, with quite a specialism on mobile. Right, PR for indies. So there are like 4 key pillars for the state of the art of communications and PR for any company in the world. But this has been like really crystallized over the last 4 years, specifically for the games industry. And Roman, just to clarify, this is for like your business communications. This is like from your company vision. This is like, you know, who do you want to reach and why, and what's your value proposition? What's so good about your game or studio? So this is all about the B2B side. You're not going to learn anything from me about reaching gamers. That's not what I do. But if you're looking to, cement your position as a thought leader, be part of vital communities and reach investors, for example, then you'll gain a lot from this presentation.
Okay, so let's summarize. We need PR if we want to raise money.
It helps.
It helps.
It helps because So from an indie perspective, so we've got a client called Mijuan, and they don't want to raise money, but they wanted like recognition from the industry because they've had 20 million organic downloads. They wanted people to know about the studio, not just about the game, Battle of Polytopia. So we started working with them 2 years ago, and our role was to basically for them to champion quality mobile gaming content which doesn't aggressively monetize. That was their thing, and still is their thing. So we're all about getting them on stage, positioning them as thought leaders, and getting a message across that it's quality, community, and dialing down monetization strategy. That's their story.
Gotcha, man. So then, I think it's the same vein if you want to help your HR department and you want to portray yourself really as an expert in the field.
Yeah, I think it comes down to this. If you walk into a room and no one knows you, are they going to trust you? Or if you walk into, like, if you're on a holiday and you walk into the supermarket and you don't recognize the brands which you're surrounded with in this weird supermarket, and you go, what do I go for? You're going to go for something which you understand and know and trust.
Right.
So it's the same in any industry. So in the games industry, indies are the lifebloods, and that's a fucking cliche. Sorry, Roman. They are. They're basically making games, incredibly tough conditions, macro, microeconomics and so forth, but there's still the passion for it. And I'd argue that most indies are driven by passion, and some are like, I want to be the next Zynga, I want to be acquired by, a massive studio, I want to get like 20 minutes to get that game. It's fine. But what's really important, before we jump into any tactical things, you need to know what your business vision is, and I'm sure studio heads will have a clear vision. Or they might be thinking about it, or they just want to make money, or they want to make meaningful mobile gaming experiences which, transcend platform. I kind of personally love those ones because I love mobile. It's got a huge audience, and it's such a rich vein of talent and creativity. So first is vision before you look at anything. It's like, what is your company about? What are you about as a person? Now, we know investors are attracted to strong figureheads or strong organizations which have a good story. And everyone has a good story somewhere. There's like a very particular audience for you, and you will know your audience better than anyone. So that's like, research bit. So before you do anything communications, social, newsletters, YouTube videos, you need to think about, what the fuck am I going to tell the world? And that'll come best for you. And sometimes use a PR agency to work on that angles and vision piece. But, for indies, you can do a lot on your own. Marketing theory is accessible anywhere. It's easy to find. You can find it in ChatGPT. But it's the human being who's got the vision, is building the company. They're the only ones who know what to say and when to say it into market. So there's still room for humans, I hope, in this world. Robin, is that quite clear?
Yeah. So let's say I have the vision and then I go to the communication pillar.
Yeah, sure. So
maybe let's take an example. Let my vision be... I need to come up with a vision now. I want to create games. Yeah, I know. I want to create games that do not need internet connection on mobile. Or something like that. Is that a good vision? Or that's not?
It's really good. So it's basically creating strong content, offline content, which doesn't need internet connection. That's fascinating because, so many games are hampered by the need for an internet connection. And if you're traveling on a plane or you're underground, like in London Undergrounds, you scream.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
It's not my idea. There already apps like that.
Yeah. So
that's for our example, for our convo.
Yeah. So, there's a strong message that maybe you're an expert at creating these offline games. And then you need to study who else is doing these offline games. So there's commercial reason for these offline games existed because there's demand for it. Now, if you position yourself as a thought leader or an expert, you can take that to market across a different variety of channels. So the state of the art of what we're doing at Raptor is to deploy creative communications campaigns which are multi-channel. So you're basically reaching your audience and engaging with them wherever they are. Like, it could be in Pocket Gamer, it could be, you're speaking on stage, it could be, social content, it could be YouTube content. But you kind of need to do the analysis where your audience is, which is important to you. Where are the investors? Where are these specific publishers? Where do I need to be? What conferences do I need to go to? What value can I give to my community in terms of getting them to think about the value proposition of offline gaming content?
And maybe we can break it down with this, 4 pillars.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So I'll ask you, Robin, what's fame? Why do you think fame is important?
I think it's recognition, right? Like that's the main proxy of fame.
Yeah, it's recognition. In the right way. Fame is a very general term, but when I think of fame in the games industry for indie developers, it's a very small audience, the B2B landscape. So it's like, how do you become known for a certain thing, one or two things? So let's say it's offline games. So fame could be, getting into like the games industry outlets. But now, like fame can be equated to how many podcasts am I going to be on over the next quarter discussing offline gaming content or vibe coding, for example. So fame is relative to the person or organization. Now, there's benefits for that. So if you've got an unknown product but it's kick-ass, you're not going to succeed as well as someone with a kick-ass product and a trusted profile. It's human nature. You want to learn about companies. You want to trust individuals, and trust is built up over time. It's a constant commitment to deliver your story and thought leadership, and hopefully have fun alongst the way, and whilst retaining a high degree of authenticity in however you communicate, wherever you communicate. So the fame pillar is kind of like where people hire us because PR agencies have got like deep media relationships like Dean Takahashi or Business Insider, stuff like that. But there's still tons indies could do on their own. For example, I know for a fact, like the guys at Pocket Gamer or Neil Long at Mobile Gamer, they love to speak to indies, successful indies, because there's so many tech vendors trying to pitch them stories. But there's like a demand to speak to pioneering, innovative, entrepreneurial game makers. If you think about it, Robert, it's a crazy time to launch a studio. It is. It's like there's so many things against you, but people still do it because they fucking love it. So, initial steps, recommendations you could do, you can have a conversation. You can reach out to journalists like Craig Chappell, for example. That's fine. Just make sure what you send them is newsworthy or interesting. You might not get a response, but if you can kind of work out what makes a good story, and sometimes you may need to refer to a consultant like me, for example, that's fine. But fame is usually brand awareness, positioning, thought leadership, and building trust, which ultimately, is massively important for any business or individual.
Gotcha, man. So just to synthesize this,
Yes.
we want no, developers have sort of an advantage compared to the vendors. Like
Yes.
I'm on the vendor side
Yes.
right now,
Yes.
and they can definitely use it when
Yes.
talking to industry journalists.
Yes, absolutely.
And we'll have a list, I think, towards the end of those slides where you show us some of the websites
Yeah.
where they can basically pitch their ideas if they want to do some PR for their
Yeah.
app, right?
Yeah. It's like anyone could do it. It's easy to find this stuff. We'll talk about it, but it needs to be, if you're going to expose yourself, make sure what you take to market is right, it's authentic, it's newsworthy. So sometimes the media route doesn't have to be the only route, and it's not. Yeah. What's really powerful right now is the community pillar, which overlaps with the fame pillar. Like community is exactly what you're doing right now, Roman. It's the rise. The last 6 to 12 months, we've seen the rise of the B2B games industry influencer. Like John Wright, yourself, Mate. There's loads of them, and they are eroding the audience size of the macro outlets. But both coexist because the macro outlets like PG and VentureBeat are quite broad, whereas your show you can talk about MMPs, you can get nitty gritty. It's for niche audiences. They both coexist, and that's we're seeing. Community is so important and is really coming to its own, and this is the real opportunity for indies today. It's like every indie has the ability to provide value to its community in which it lives, to discuss subjects, to share best practices, to share issues, to get through stuff. And when I say community, I'm talking about, podcasts, going to mixers and events, building those human connections, giving value via your social media or blogs. Try not to be commercial, but it's okay to be a billboard sometimes and say, we've got an awesome game and this is what we're doing. That's fine. But community is all about reaching and engaging with those audience most important to you and building those relationships over time. So that's like 1,000% the most interesting pillar right now in the games industry. For me, personally.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. We at Tenjin have a Discord community
Yeah.
for developers that self-publish games, and this is where I get a lot of questions and where I get the inspiration for the video.
Yeah.
But another example that it is even bigger than our community is a guest that we had. His name is Anul, and he started Discord community around vibe coding.
Yes.
Even before it was vibe coding.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He was doing like no code, and we've done a video with him on that during like early ChatGPT days. I will link it somewhere here.
Wow, ahead of the curve.
Yeah. So, and he has already like more than 1,000 developers that want to vibe code games.
Yeah. It's, slightly linked, but right now is the most disruptive time I've ever seen in the games industry because of new technologies. Now, I came out of GDC with kind of like an informed viewpoint, because I was asking CEOs, studio heads, what the hell's going to happen over the next few years with AI. And the most common answer is that small to medium-sized studios are the ones which will lead tomorrow's games industry. Because they're the ones that can be most agile and embrace new technologies to create content which, larger, say, AA or AAA big publishers would have hard to pivot in. So right now there's like, I think the battle map for game making is being redrawn in real time. I'm just a PR guy, but I've been chatting to a lot of people in C-suite. It's a hugely transformative time. Now these topics like vibe coding, the job markets, investment, these are all subjects which every indie developer will have an opinion on. You can share that opinion on platforms like this. You can share your opinions with like Craig and Pocket Gamer. You can share your opinion at events. You can apply for speaker positions. In advance of every conference, they look for speakers. Just submit yourself and what you can talk about. Everyone specializes in what they do, and that's your killer weapon.
Yeah, another advantage. As a developer versus vendor, they will gladly take anyone as a speaker if they are developing games.
Yeah.
Right? And not selling.
I think it needs to be the right balance, but we need to bring it back to the fact that people still make games and focus on the artistic, entrepreneurial efforts of indie developers as the lifeblood. It is sadly being lost from what I see. If you go to trade shows, there's lots of tech vendors and so forth, because they're the ones with their severe marketing budget, which can afford companies like Raptor and so forth. But there lies an opportunity, because the journalists and people like you, it's really important to support and celebrate and explore new ways of making games and incoming new content in the market.
I see the data here, like one of the pillars is data. Can you talk more about this?
Yeah. So if you have messaging, like if you say, we've got 400,000 players, or, you make a claim that, you made $20 million last year in revenue, having data to support what you say is really important. Facts. So it's a foundational pillar. If you can get the data, use it to support what you say to market. So at Raptor, we use data. We do developer surveys, publisher surveys, gamer surveys to explore, pain points in the industry. Last year we did a survey for Sansoft, a Saudi-based publisher investor, looking at what the hell do developers think of publishers. So they wanted to attract more developers into their ecosystem. But from an indie perspective, if you've got little money, you can still find data points to support what you say to market. And when you do that, it makes you more credible. You know, an experienced opinion is great, but you back it up with fact and data, then it's bulletproof. You can't dispute it.
I see. So my chances of raising money for my no internet games is higher if I show that I already earned $1 million.
Absolutely. If you can demonstrate that to market and you bring in some of the you've got a case study to show the performance, for example. If you're doing something innovative in the space, like in offline gaming, it's like, how do you serve ads in an online game? I don't know. Maybe there's a piece where you speak to like an ad tech company and it's a joint story, for example. Yeah.
Gotcha. No, gotcha, man. This is clear. And the last is consultancy, and I see that you've prepared a present for us. Very kind of you.
Absolutely. So consultancy, human beings like me. So myself and fellow director Thomas Huxter, we are happy to provide a one-to-one communications consultation with all of Roman's followers and fans. We want to meet you guys. We want to meet smart people. We want to learn. Maybe we'll work together one day. Who knows? But consultancy is where you get people my age, you know, providing strategic recommendations about what you could do in terms of your companies or studios' communication strategy for the next 12 months. So if your goals are like, you know, Rana, I want to raise money. So, okay, this is probably what you could do. Or Rana, I want some ideas for, you know, what to talk about in a webinar. Why do a webinar? Or what do I do in social? Happy to chat to your followers on that point.
Super. We'll leave the link to the website.
Yeah.
Just mention Tenjin ROI 101. And yeah, Rana will give you the 30 minutes consultation.
Awesome.
No strings attached.
No strings attached. I'm not a heavy-handed salesperson, as you know, Roman. So, consider who your audiences are. Now, the mobile games industry is vast. There are lots of intersecting technologies, and in terms of your audience, there are innovators out there. There's different sizes of indie studios. So, you might, when you think of games industry media or platforms, you might just think of like Pocket Gamer or Moba Dictum or Rumours Podcast or Narvik's gaming podcast. There's a ton of different industries out there which you can consider. So, for example, if there's some Web3 tech in your game, that's another audience you can explore. If you're doing something innovative in ag tech, you can take that story to influencers of media in that space. Mina loves to hear about innovative game makers because there's so much investment and opportunity there. Business and tech, so that's usually reserved for companies which generally have that pioneering piece of tech and looking to disrupt something. Have you kind of go towards business and tech media if you kind of got a reasonable amount of success. And if you're looking to raise money, I've been told by many people, CEOs and founders, that they often ask for media coverage to support, their application for, say, $10 million, for example. So there's many different routes into markets. This kind of may be too complex for indies, but I just wanted to flag it because, if you're doing stuff which crosses, say, ad tech, Web3, games industry, then there's like triple the amount of opportunity you might think. But you might think, oh, there was just Craig Chappell, or there's just Roman's podcast. But actually, there's plenty more avenues you can look at in terms of like a global audience and different vertical sectors to look at.
Yeah, that's basically like, for me, it's a list, right? Especially first two columns here for our mobile plans. This is the list, so you can just make a screenshot. And whenever you're doing your next PR story, or even with your first PR story, just see what people are writing. So
games industry, it's media outlets and it's platforms like PGC Connects or WN, for example. So there's a lot there you can explore. And if you're making indie games, you will know this stuff. But then it's like, looking at the Substacks, the newsletters, the podcast, and there's a ton there. As an indie developer, that's really fertile ground to engage with. That can be really rewarding, personally and professionally, to start building your social profile with these kind of entities.
Nice.
Cool. Messaging. So this is something I believe you can do on your own, but you need to think about the first step is like, what's the vision? What's the business goal for the company? Is it to 2x number of gamers? Is it to get a bunch of investment? Is it to attract the best talent? Is it to become the best vibe coding community in the world? Whatever it is, you kind of need that vision piece before you can look at messaging. And the best messaging is really simple. It's understandable in a heartbeat for your intended audience. So we've anonymized this, but this is for an alternative app store. And I'm not going to say who it is, but the key message, X company is the original independent app store. And then some supporting messages which supports, its value proposition for developers. It supports, its market positioning. It's challenging monopolies. So this is like, you could do this. You could use tools like ChatGPT, but if you're going to do this, I would have a consultant to check it, just in case it's not 100%. But if you know your audience really well, you could do this kind of stuff.
Use your 30 minutes with Rana to validate ChatGPT. No, but for real, I think that if you just give it like generic ChatGPT prompt, it will give you some sort of BS in return.
Do you know what? We're looking at tech all the time, Roman. Right now, we can't do what we wanted to do, but one day it will. But it will need an expert to understand what the fuck is coming out is good. So it's like a human with this. It's like a guard dog with a human controlling. Getting the most out of it. It's useless without humans. And when you're dealing with your reputation, you need a human to check it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It can't be trusted just yet. I mean, I'm trying, but I can't get to do it right now. It'll be like, training it on like stuff we've done before, but the output's just not good enough. It will be one day. Yeah, not too soon. And then it's like, what does your brand sound like? What I see a lot of smaller organizations is that they'll talk about a billion different things and they'll sound different in different posts, and there's a lack of consistency. So when you have a brand voice or a personal brand, it's a good idea to think about what you're going to say, the value proposition, and how your brand sounds. So this is like a tone of voice slide, which can kind of bring your brand to life. And one really cool recommendation for all studios: you don't have to be boring when doing B2B comms. You can use human language. You can use excitable copy. But it's an industry. You can dial into that.
Yeah, and I guess if you're indie, you have to be different.
Yeah.
You can't be corporate.
No. It kind of depends on your size and your intent.
Yeah.
But on the whole, I agree with you. It's like you need to be creative and singular and find, your role in all of this. Conferences. So there's loads in every country, very community-based. So this is Christian, the CEO of Mijiwan. So we got him a speaking opportunity at DevCon, Gamescom, and he was talking about his story is you don't need to overly monetize to have a successful game, and that's the narrative. That's what they want to be, like champions for best-in-class gameplay and community engagement, and that works for them. And there's Thomas, one of my guys at Moby Dictum last year. There's Christian again talking about Pocket Game in London about live ops, parties and mixers. So this is really important because often you have the main event, but it's really the mixers is where you see the human beings and you can have fun and maybe have a business conversation as well. So, like in every big event, there's a ton of mixes to go to. So you kind of need to get into that community to understand what's the coolest party to go to. Like GDC is like mental. Gamescom is like, you know, it's like a festival. You know, there's so many different events. But you kind of need to be strategic about what kind of events are right for you. And I think it's going to be trial and error. You know, you need to do this conference circuit for a number of years to really understand what's right for your business. That's it. In a nutshell.
Got it. What I have final question for you.
Yeah.
We're almost on time, but I need to ask that. What do you think indies should never do in PR? Like a couple of maybe bad examples.
Okay, first one, don't stalk journalists too hard. If you're going to reach out to Craig Chappell, for example, don't like send him 10 emails in a week. Just be quite considerate. These are human beings who get loads of requests to do stories. It's a cliched one, but it's very true. If you're a CEO of a studio, write like yourself. Don't fucking use AI to do it. Don't sanitize your language. You know, include the imperfections in your language. So, you know, since the advent of AI, my LinkedIn feed is just awash with very similar looking, you know, content, which is okay. You can hack the algorithm, but for the people who know, I know lots of like people in Turkey and different countries, and they're not sounding like themselves on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's same point as I had with the messaging, right? So it's not there yet.
Yeah.
What about all of the trendy stuff? For example, Ghibli images of yourself or action figures.
I personally think it's shit because it deviates from what your brand is about. Now, a good brand is essential if you're looking for market success. So you kind of need that brand identity, what it stands for, its values, its intent. So branding it crosses many different, you know, disciplines. So I strongly believe in consistency in branding and messaging. So if you're able to achieve that, you're in a strong place. And if you keep changing your identity every month, it's going to be really fucking confusing for your audiences. People want to be reassured that you stand for something. These are your values. This is what you're about. You're an expert in XYZ. Like at Raptor, we try not to do CEO ghostwriting on LinkedIn. Why? Because how the hell can my team, who are like between 21 and 30 years old, simulate the thoughts of, you know, an entrepreneur or a CEO realistically? Maybe we kind of get it right, but really, I'm a really firm believer on this. It's like, if you're a CEO, you need to show yourself a little bit, show some transparency and engage, because you've got incredible knowledge and expertise. It's really hard. Maybe you could train an AI, you could get the CEO to type loads of shit in, but, you know, that I don't see that's really practical. I don't think you need to be a slave to the LinkedIn algorithm, for example. Just embrace what's right for you. You know, have a narrative which is right for you. It's like, I prefer digital because I hate being on stage. I don't feel comfortable. I've got ADHD. I think about too much. But virtual I love, but I don't have that pressure. I kind of know what I'm going to talk about. We were talking about this 3 years ago.
With such a background, of course, you there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I mean, I do more from this room than go to conferences often.
Oh yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah. And then, there's another piece, more a recommendation than don't do. If you have a consistent story, you can push that all year round. Some people just try and push the stories around Gamescom or GDC or PGC. That's important, but not everything. You're more likely to reach an audience, like an investor community or a publisher, outside of those big audiences, because around big shows, you've got all the big brands with all their, you know, hard messaging across every channel and billboards and everything like that. So be strategic about when you drop your stories, especially if you're smaller. Because you can't compete with the marketing budget of like an Exola or something, which buy everything, which is great. That works for them. But if you're a small company, you need to be really smart and strategic where you appear and what you say.
Nice one. I think we should end on this note. Be strategic about what you say and when. We'll also ask Rana to answer any of your questions if you leave it in the comments.
Awesome.
Remember about this great gesture from Rana to give anyone from our community 30 minutes consultation. Give us a like.
It could go longer.
Take advantage of it.
Myself and Thomas Huckster, he's the strategic lead. We love this space, and if we can help people along their journey, that's great.
Super. Then thanks a lot, Rana.
A pleasure. Anytime.
Yeah.
See you on my show in a few weeks. Take care. Bye.